Hey there, soulmates. It's your girl, Dr. Melissa, back with another soul stirring episode of Standing on Business, where it's not just business, it's personal. So, today we're going to have a real conversation about something that society tells us to hide, something that society tells us to be ashamed of, to run from. And that is another F word that I talk about that's not fear, but it's failure. Yep, I said it. When we talk about failure, these are those moments that make us want to crawl under our covers and never come out. You know, those experiences that keeps us up at night. Those setbacks that makes us want to question everything. But today, I am here to shake everything up that you think about failure. Because what if, just what if, your failures aren't your enemies? What if they are actually your most loyal teachers? What a concept. What if every setback is actually a setup for something greater? So let's take some time to unpack and to redefine failure. Let's get real about what failure really is. You see, soulmates, society has sold us on the lie that failure is the opposite of success. But let me tell you something. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is a part of success. Failure is not the enemy of growth. What if failure is actually the catalyst for growth? I want you to think about a baby that's learning to walk, right? How many of you all have seen a baby learning to walk? How many times do they fall? Tens, hundreds? I don't know. My first child, she really took her precious, sweet time with learning how to walk. But when you watch a baby learning to walk, they have multiple falls. But here's what's so beautiful and also something I want you to think about. Isn't it funny that we never call those falls failure? No, we don't go, oh, you failed again. No. We call those falls attempts. We call them practice. You know, we celebrate every attempt that baby makes because we understand that falling is a part of the process of learning to walk. So, what if we gave ourselves the same grace that we gave that baby? What if we started to label our falls, our failures, as attempts instead of losses? What if we started to view our failures as feedback? And I know this is a concept, it's a stretch, but we're really speaking to mindset. And if I can get you to pivot in how you see failures, I am telling you, this will change the game for you. So, I want to talk about when we think about failures, I want to talk about what really holds us back. And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not failure itself, it's that other big F word, fear. It's not the failure itself, it's the fear of the failure. Now, let me tell you, when we talk about fear, false evidence appearing real, I did a whole TED talk on this, you guys. Let's talk about how fear shows up. And I think I'm going to give you 3 ways that fear shows up with respect to failure and why we are so afraid to fail. The first way that it shows up is the fear of not being good enough. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail because I'm not good enough? Right? Another way that that fear shows up is the fear of what others will think. Ooh, sometimes we're afraid to try something for the fear of failure and other people looking at us and laughing or saying, who did she think she was? Oh, I knew that wasn't going to work. So we're so afraid of what people might think. And that plays itself into this whole fear of failure. What will they think? Another fear is the fear of never recovering. You guys, that's a huge one. It's amazing to me because sometimes the things that we're afraid to try, it's as if it doesn't go the way we wanted it to go, it's not survivable. Oh my goodness. Oh, I would, go for that job, that promotion. But if I don't get it, I'll never recover. Really? I'll tell you that oftentimes when I'm working with clients and we're trying to drill through this mindset of fear of failure and what will happen if I fail, what I typically say to them is, let's play that out. Let's say you fail. Let's say you go for the promotion and like you bomb the interview, like you don't get the job. Can you survive that? Is it survivable? Will the sky still be blue and the grass still be green? And if the answer is yes, then it means you will recover. You tried something, it did not work out the way you wanted it to, and you will recover. And the sky will still be blue the next morning. Okay? I say that because I want you to understand a very powerful concept. And that is the fear of failure is actually the fear of growth in disguise. Because here's the thing, you can't fail at something unless you're being pushed beyond your comfort zone. So, failure is actually evidence that you're showing up. It's evidence that you're playing big. It's evidence that you're trying something new. It's evidence that you have endeavored to come out of your comfort zone. Evidence that you're growing. Think about it. The only way to completely avoid failure is to never try anything new. You know, it takes me to that concept of anything new that you try, you will suck at it. And so here's what I'm going to tell you. This is how I make peace with the new things that I need to try in my life. I go ahead and say to myself, ooh, you are going to suck at this. You've never done this before. Ooh, It's going to be brutal. It's going to be laughable. You are not going to be good at that. You're going to suck. The moment that I embrace that whole concept, some of that fear goes away because oftentimes we are afraid of failing. Oh, what if I suck? So I just say to myself, oh, you're going to suck. Oh, I guarantee it. Oh, because you've never done this before. You don't know what you're doing. This is completely out of your comfort zone. But let me tell you, soulmates, what I have learned is that while I suck at that thing at first, I just keep doing it. I keep showing up. I keep practicing. I keep doing the reps. And then I suck less and less and less until one day I don't suck at all. I'm actually good at it. But here's the thing. You can't get to that place of being competent, proficient, good at it if you're not willing to suck at it at first. Michael Jordan was not born with a basketball in his hands. And if you read his story and go back and look, you'll realize that he was cut. He went to the tryouts and he was cut. He wasn't proficient yet. So the only way to completely avoid failure is to not try anything new. And that, my soulmates, that is the true failure. That's the biggest failure of all. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Give you a chance to refresh your tea and get you some ice water or whatever it is that you need. And then I want you to come right on back because on the other side of the break, we're going to continue this very important conversation where I'm going to convince you that failure is not a loss at all. See you in a moment.
Welcome to a unique brew of perspectives. What's the Tea with Gen XYZ is your one-stop spot for a fresh take on today's burning issues. Representing 3 generations, a Gen X icon, a millennial maverick, and a Gen Z trailblazer stir up conversations ranging from social justice to pop culture. They'll bring the heat, spill the honest truth, and find common ground across the years. Expect humor, candor, and perhaps a dash of healthy debate. Enlightening, insightful, and sure to stir the pot. Stay tuned for a stimulating dialogue that bridges the generation gap, one cup at a time.
Okay, welcome back to Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa. So, let's continue this conversation about this whole fear of failure. And if I was really going to talk about and term this episode, I would call it Lose and Learn. And that's really based on a quote from, I think, one of the most prolific people in history, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela once said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. Whew, what a concept. So every loss is actually a learn. I didn't lose anything. I just learned. That relationship that went bad, I didn't lose anything. I learned. That job I didn't get, I didn't lose anything. I learned. I learned how to interview better. I learned how to freshen up my resume. I got practice on how to present myself and how to promote myself and how to advocate for myself. So I'm better for it. So the thing is, every loss, every failure carries a gift. But you have to be willing to open it. Every failure carries a lesson. But you have to be willing to learn it. You see, When we talk about losses and we talk about failure, we're really talking about perspective, how you choose to see it. If you see it as a loss, if you see the failure as fatal, there's nothing to glean from it. It was for nothing. But if you choose to change your perspective and see it as a learning experience, now we're getting somewhere. So, when you think about that perspective, when you're facing a setback, when you're facing a loss or failure, I want you to ask yourself these questions. And these really speak to how you can reframe the loss as a lesson, the failure as feedback. First thing is, what did this experience reveal about my strengths? I will tell you, the last few years I've gone through some seismic situations, the kind of things that turn your life upside down. And I will tell you, one of the greatest gifts from surviving that time was that I learned about strengths that I didn't know I had. I mean, I knew I was a strong person, right? But there were some things, some strengths that were revealed in my trauma, in my storm that you couldn't have told me 10 years ago I had. So, what did your experience, your loss, your failure reveal about your strengths? Another question. What did it teach me about my blind spots? Ooh, sometimes we bring people into our inner circle, or we trust individuals or situations, and then we realize that they were not worthy of that trust. And we can get pretty self-critical. Oh, I should have known. I can't believe I did that. I shouldn't have never trusted. And we can really get very self-deprecating. Or we can say, there's a blind spot that I have. There's a soft spot that I have that I didn't know about myself. And so this situation taught me something about my blind spots. Another question. How has this loss or this failure prepared you for future opportunities? The analogy about the promotion that you went for and you didn't get it. What insights did you gain? How did that prepare you for the next thing, the next opportunity? Maybe you learned that you really need to get more practice on interviewing because you were super nervous and you don't feel like you presented yourself well. You didn't articulate your position well. And so you might say, let me get some coaching. Let me do some work on that so that I'm more comfortable when it's time to do that. Maybe you learned that you got in there and they asked about certain credentials that you didn't have. And now you know, ooh, I need to go back, get some training in this area so that I am prepared for the next opportunity. Okay? Another question. What relationships or insights did you gain from this process? I will tell you, in the midst of your losses or your failures and your storms and your traumas, oftentimes I say that a storm didn't come to stay, it came to pass. And what happens in a storm that's really helpful and beneficial is that the storm can blow away some things that are not profitable. And it allows space for something new. So when you think about your losses, your failures, were there any new relationships that you gained in that process? For me, I gained a whole different slew of people that I would have never known had I not gone through the tragedy and the traumas that I had gone through, the failures, the losses, right? What insights? What did you learn about yourself, about other people, about your faith, about the world at large? Like, what insights did you gain from the process? Okay? A final question I want you to ponder. How has this failure or this loss made you more resilient? If you went through those other questions and you're thinking about something, a loss or a failure, and you say, I don't know, no new relationships, and I don't know if I have any different insights. If all of that, if you went through those questions and you couldn't find yourself in any of those questions, I'm going to tell you this one, this is the catch all. How did it make you more resilient? Did you survive it? If you're listening to me, you did. Whether you want to see that as resilience or not, it is. You shook, but you didn't break. You stood in the midst of what should have taken you out. You became stronger. You became more resilient. And so when you choose to see it that way, pain, not just for pain's sake, I'm in so much pain, I went through so much pain, and yes, that happens. But you will often hear me say that I woke up one day and I decided that pain was going to pay me back for bothering me. I was going to make sure that pain paid me with purpose and with power. I wasn't going to have pain that at the end of the day, it was just pain. And I walked away with nothing but scars. No, I decided that my pain would produce something. And I'm talking to you today because of that declaration. I want you to remember that diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is refined by fire. And in the same way, your character, your strength is being shaped by the very challenges that you wish you could avoid. It was necessary. Shameless plug. That's the name of my book. It was necessary. The storms that you went through, the its were necessary for your growth. So let's talk about where we can start to transform our relationship with failure. Because I've made the case for why we need to reframe it. How do we get started? Well, I'm going to tell you that instead of seeing failure as an endpoint, I want you to see failure as feedback. Every failure is simply data. It's information. It's a jewel. It's a gem. It's a gift because every failure gives you information about something that you may not have known. What is it telling you? Well, first of all, failure will let you know what doesn't work. Just in case you didn't know, that doesn't work. That key, that one don't work. So I can get rid of that one. I don't have to repeat trying that key. I've got 10 others, good. I'm one step closer to getting the right key because at the very least, I have eliminated something that didn't work. It also tells you what needs adjustments, especially if you're talking about in business. Sometimes you just need to know that, like we need to tweak this. We need to shift this. We need to do a pivot here, right? Failure will also help you to know where you need to grow. Sometimes, y'all, we are a legend in our own minds. I've certainly had situations where I thought I was like really good at something. I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. And then I get there and I'm like, not so much. And oftentimes it's because I have old data. So like I used to be, I'm being facetious, but I used to be like the Miss Pac-Man queen. Back in the day when we had the video arcades, where you got a bunch of quarters and on Saturday, they dropped you off and you played video games the whole day because we didn't have a system in our house hooked up to our televisions. I was the bomb when it came to Miss Pac-Man. I mean, I would go through all the levels, right? I knew I was a video game queen until years later, one day I sat down to play a game on the PlayStation with my kids. I was brutal. Um, I thought I was good, but technology had changed. Like the old school joystick, and they had codes and arrows, and there was a lot of stuff going on. Needless to say, I realized that I was not the video queen, not anymore. So in that situation, there was an area that I needed to grow in. I would have said, had I not sat down that day, I would have said, "Oh yeah, I'm the bomb at video games." But that was in the 80s, not now. Failure and losses will also teach you what you need to learn. Hey, I need more training here. I tried that and it didn't work, but you know what? If I had a little bit more practice, if I had some mentorship, like, yeah, I could get that, but I need to learn more. Okay. It'll also teach you about how you can improve. And I'm going to tell you guys every day that should be the intentions that you set. How can I be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday? I often say me versus me. My competition is the me from yesterday. That chick. That chick that wants to keep me stuck in what worked yesterday. That chick that wants to rest on the laurels that she did before. That chick. That's my competition. How can I improve? Today was, Yesterday was good. Today, what can I improve upon? And I'm going to tell you, this isn't just about positive thinking. This is about strategic thinking. It's actually about turning your failures into fuel. So, let me share a few ingredients that will turn your failures into stepping stones, that will turn your failures into resilience. So, since I'm using the analogy of ingredients, let's call it the resilience recipe. Okay. What are some ingredients that can help you do this? First, acknowledgement. You need to face the failure honestly. I didn't do well at that. I didn't get the job. Not because they don't like me, not because, and even if it is that, take the control from other people. I didn't get the job because of something I needed to do differently. You know why? That's the only thing I can control. I can't control if they didn't like me. I can't control if the job was given to their cousin. I can't control that. What I can control is what I can do differently. So acknowledgement is about just facing your failures honestly. What could I do better? What could I learn from this? The second thing is acceptance. Stop fighting what has happened. Stop trying to pretend like it didn't happen. It happened. That thing happened to me. Or I messed up there. I didn't get that right. I didn't do as well as I thought. So we got acknowledgement, we got acceptance. The next thing is analysis. I want you to extract the lessons, squeeze the juice of every bit that you can get from that loss. That is how you're able to then analyze and to say, okay, what happened here? What do I know to be true? How do I turn this loss into a lesson? That's going to be done with analysis. And then, after you've done the analysis, adjustment. Make the necessary changes. Don't just know to do better. Do better. Sometimes people say, when you know better, you do better. And I say, that's not true. Now, I will say you can't necessarily do better until you know better. But when people say, when you know better, you do better, and I go, in what universe? The planet is filled with people who know what they're supposed to do and they don't do it. So when you find out, when you do the analysis and you extract the lessons, make the necessary changes. Don't be so committed to your way, so committed to the pain, so committed to the unfairness, so committed to the narrative, so committed to whatever it is that's keeping you stuck. Don't be so committed to that you're not willing to make the change and to pivot. And then that leads us to the last A, action. Now it's time to try again. with the new wisdom. What does that look like? Oh, I tried relationships. It never works out. And I had a really bad breakup. And so I'm just done. If you went through these steps, acknowledge, accept, analyze, adjust, you could then open yourself again to a new opportunity, a new relationship, new possibilities, utilizing the new wisdom that you have. And not being that person that says, I tried one time before, I will never do that again. But I'm going to tell you, you go through all of these A's. There is a secret ingredient. And that is, you're going to have to add grace, self-compassion to this recipe. You're going to have to be as kind and gracious to yourself as you would be to a friend or a loved one facing the same situation. Isn't it funny? Somebody that we love, one of our children, go through something and they don't meet the mark. Most of the time, I hope you don't. We don't say, what a failure. You are such a failure. Don't ever try that again. No. Most of the time we say the things that I'm saying to you today, we already know to do. We just do it with other individuals. We don't give that grace to ourselves. So be gracious to yourself. Now, Dr. Melissa is practical. Okay, very practical. So let's go through some practical steps to help you grow through your failures, to turn your losses into lessons. The first thing, I want you to keep a failure resume. I know somebody's like, I don't want to keep that resume. Listen, we talked about acknowledgement, right? We talked about reframing and not looking at failure as fatal or something bad. Simply, you're going to just document your setbacks and the lessons that you came with it. Okay? I tried this, that didn't work. Because really, in all honesty, knowledge is power. Oh, what did I try? I tried that. Okay, that didn't work. So let's talk about what I learned. Okay? So keep a failure resume. Then I want you to practice a 24-hour rule. And what does that mean? That means every individual is different. The challenges, the losses may look different. So you apply this to your own situation as it fits, okay? So don't take this as a static, okay? But the concept is what I want you to walk away with. When I talk about the 24-hour rule, it's just simply to sit with the pain, sit with it for a day, and then shift to thinking about the learning. Allow yourself to sit with it. That didn't work out. Oh, I'm so upset about that. That was so painful. Oh, I was so excited. I was so hoping. And it didn't happen. Sit with it. That's human. That's normal. Don't stay there. You know, it's the analogy I give that if someone comes to you, if you're sitting in a chair minding your business, and they come up to you and push you in the floor, like for no reason. I often say to my clients, I say, whose fault is that? You're sitting there minding your business in the chair and an individual comes and just knock you over out of your chair into the floor. Whose fault is that? And rightfully, they say, that's that person's fault. Absolutely. You didn't deserve that. You were minding your business. You did nothing wrong. But then I flip the script on them and I say, if I come back a week later and you're still lying in the floor in the same spot, whose fault is that? Yeah. So sit with the pain and then shift your focus to the learning. Here's something else, practical steps. I am so big on this. It is why I'm talking to you right now. Share your story. Help other people by being open about your own journey. Be courageous and transparent and vulnerable enough to understand that your story is not just for you. You survived. That story is for someone else who might be in the midst of it. The same thing that you came through. They woke up this morning saying, I don't know if it's a way out of this. And there you are, a living testimony. So share your story. I want you to celebrate your attempts. I want you to acknowledge the courage that it took to even try, to even show up. You didn't have to. You know how many people stay in the comfort zone and they say, oh, I never fail at anything. Well, because you never try anything. You're doing the same thing you've been doing since 1973. Like you haven't tried one new thing. So, yeah, you're not failing because you're not trying. So when you try, when you have a failure, anytime you fail at something, it's because you were trying something. So I want you to acknowledge that, okay? I want you to track your growth. Notice how each setback makes you stronger. I want you to build a support system. My soul purpose community is one of them. Surround yourself with people who understand growth. Surround yourself with individuals who can say, I get it. I've been there. This is what I did. Or you go. You got this. Okay? And then I want you to create a learning ritual. Be intentional about learning. Have specific processes for your learning. Podcasts, videos, coaching, mentoring, whatever it is. Be intentional about learning. So, I want to remind you that every success story is built on a foundation of failures. Now, you may not see them because generally we don't go out and go, oh, yeah, by the way, yes, I failed at. Most people don't do that because, as I said, society teaches us to hide that and bury that and be ashamed of that. But your success stories that you see, they're built on a foundation of failures. Every time you click that light on, please know that Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before he created the light bulb. And I'm so glad he kept trying. I'm so glad. Walt Disney. Walt Disney was fired for lacking creativity. Have y'all seen The Lion King and The Little Mermaid? Like, really? But he was fired for not having enough creativity. Oprah Winfrey was told that she wasn't fit for television. Yes, the queen of television was told that she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was publicly fired from the company that he founded. You see, their greatness wasn't in avoiding failure. No, it was in how they responded to it, how they reframed it, how they changed the meaning of failure and loss to lessons, to feedback. Okay? So listen, soulmates, I want to leave you here today with this truth. And I want this truth to be burned in your spirit. Your failures do not define you. They refine you. Say that again. Your failures do not define you. They refine you. They don't determine your destination. They prepare you for it. You see, every setback you faced, every disappointment you've endured, every failure you've experienced, they're not working against you. They are working together to build something in you that success alone never could. Here's what I want you to remember, something that I heard years ago. The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. So please remember that your failures are not fatal. They're not final. They're foundational. They're feedback. So I'm going to challenge you today to stop running from failure. Stop hiding from it. Stop being ashamed of it. Instead, embrace it as your teacher. Welcome it as your trainer. And see it for what it truly is. a necessary step on your path to greatness. Because here's the truth. You're not failing. You're not falling. You're growing. And growth, my dear soulmates, that is what you were put here for. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa. I hope that today's discussion has ignited a fire within you to embrace your authenticity, prioritize your growth, and then infuse your life and business with your purpose. If you want more information about me, please visit my website, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then follow me on all of the socials. And then, if you're ready to kick it up a notch and go to the next level and align your purpose with your life and your business, I'm going to invite you to join our free community, the My Soul Purpose community. There, you're going to have the opportunity to connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. You're going to be able to gain clarity on your purpose and develop a roadmap for aligning your life and your business with your authentic self. That community is absolutely free. So, to learn more about it and to secure your spot, you can join me at community.purposeprofitess.com. I cannot wait to support and serve you there. So, join me next week as we dive deeper into the strategies and mindset shifts needed to have a purpose-driven life and business. I want you to remember that you are purposeful and you are powerful. I believe in you, and I cannot wait to see the incredible things that you're going to achieve. So, until next time, my dear soulmates, keep standing up, keep standing out, and then keep standing on business. Bye for now.